YouTube channel near you.
Well, hello there. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Susan. Will Twisted. Everybody that's tuning in tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today, Grizz? Keeping warm with all this cold weather?
Yeah, it's like 17, 18 degrees here. So, yeah, it's got
Yeah,
cold.
yeah. We got another couple inches of snow last night, so we're out there, shoveling. And thank God I have some friends from church that are come and help me because I have a big piece of property that needs to be plowed and shoveled and snow blowed and all that other good stuff. So it's pretty good. And honestly, this is the first couple of weeks we've actually had any snow. We had a pretty mild winter up to this point, but it was a busy week. These weeks go flying by. It's like there's a part of me. It's like I can't believe it's Thursday again already. It's like wow, where did the day go? Where'd the time go? But I guess it's important sometimes that we stop and realize how fast time goes by, right? That we should be. Are we doing the right things? Are we focused on the right things? Are we just so busy doing busy work and another week, another month, another year goes by and it's like, are we any closer to our goals? Or are we on track for the purpose of our life? Are we doing the things that bring us joy and help us be the better version of ourselves that we're becoming and hoping to become? So, it's like, I want to do a little scorecard every now and again and be like, okay, in these areas, that was good. Not so good on these other ones. But I also, I wanted to talk about a couple of different things today. But I also want to give you the floor for a second, Chris, and, just in case there's anything else you wanted to share or let people know, especially since we're on a new night, if there's a different kind of vibe to it. Maybe this audience doesn't know all the things that you want to share. So,
no, I just want to thank everybody for always tuning in and giving us support on each and every show and our channel. And we really thank you all for being valuable listeners and supporters. It means a lot. It really does.
Oh, yeah. If it wasn't for them, what's the point of us being here, right?
Right. So, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, and it's a Valentine's Day tomorrow. Should we ask any big plans, you guys, out there?
He's already made a suggestion, so.
Good. Well, I hope you'll be the smart honey that takes those suggestions to heart and does as many of them as you can.
You better believe it.
Yep. Well,
You're really grinning.
Valentine's Day, we all know it's a Hallmark holiday, but, there's something to be said for bringing awareness to something maybe we should be doing all the time anyway, right? So it's like, all right, like Mother's Day. Do we really need a day, or Father's Day, to be grateful for our parents or to express that love and gratitude to them? We shouldn't have to, but if that day comes around and you're like, oh, you know what? Let me do something special on this day just to really show that affection or that gratitude. I'm all for that, So they can have their big business and do whatever they're doing. Charge their, $10 for a little card and all that stuff anymore. But I like the idea of a reminder to express gratitude, to be kind, to do loving gestures, just to go out of your way to let the people that you do love in your life know that you love them, that you care about them. So you can be as cynical or jaded as you want out there and say, it's a Hallmark holiday, I don't do it, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? You're missing an opportunity to exchange love, to express gratitude, and just to feel good about yourself and the relationships you're in. And if you happen to be like myself and still single, or recently single in these last couple of years, and I don't have that new love in my life yet, it doesn't mean that, oh God, I have no love in my life and I'm going to have a sucky day tomorrow. No, love yourself, love your friends, express love to your family and other people. So it was designed originally around romantic love, but there's no reason you can't hijack that and say, you know what, I'm going to use this day. I had a group of lady friends that used to call it Galentines instead of Valentines, because all the single women would get together and go have a nice dinner together and some drinks together and just celebrate the love and camaraderie they had. So I'm like, yeah, you don't have to become overwhelmed or feel like, oh, I'm so sad because I used to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a husband or a wife and something changed and I don't end this day. Remember, what do we talk about episode after episode, guys? We talk about we have choice. What we focus on grows. So if you're in that quicksand of feeling alone and self-pity and like, oh, I don't have a lover in my life right now. Okay. Maybe that lover would be distracting for whatever your soul purpose is. And it actually serves a higher purpose for you to have the time to work on yourself during that period where you're not in a relationship with somebody else. So that when you do get back out there, you're going to attract a person who is much more in alignment with the you you're becoming. And the person that is the better version of you will attract a better mate or partner or loved one. It's funny. I hear so many people that have gone like they're in their second marriage and they say, oh my God, I got married young. We made a lot of mistakes. We had a lot of wonderful times, but it just didn't last and it wasn't supposed to. But boy, this next romance that I have, this next partner, we found each other. And it's so much more intense because we're coming together from a different place in our life where there's more wisdom. There's not that impulsiveness. Yeah, there's still feelings of love and still feelings of, amazing togetherness, but it's on even a deeper level. And, I'm sure most of us that remember when we were young, there was certain passions that drove us and we're kind of what steered our boat a little bit, right? We'd be like, oh yeah, different things attracted us in our teens and 20s and 30s. And then when you get a little bit older, you're like, there's a whole different quality of individual and character and traits that are much more important. Trust, dependability, that reciprocity of love. So it's not one-sided and they just give in one little area. Interest and support and encouragement and unconditional good love in whatever way it is, physical or otherwise, right? So anyway, as we approach Valentine's Day tomorrow, guys, make the choice to get out of the quicksand if you are in it. If you happen to be alone, find ways to express love to yourself. One of the things I did for me is I bought myself some flowers. So instead of saying, oh, I don't have somebody to buy me flowers, well, there's a beautiful bouquet sitting on my counter, right? It was just a little $9.99. It wasn't anything major crazy where it's going to break the bank here. It wasn't, a $50, humongous thing of roses, but it's a beautiful bouquet of flowers that cheers me up when I see it, right? I bought dark chocolate at the store because that's one of my favorite things as well. So if those were the little things, the little demonstrable things that my husband used to do for me, or my boyfriend used to do for me, or my fiance used to do for me, and I don't have that now, I can do those for myself. And I was actually going through some old jewelry over the past day or so saying, I have some beautiful jewelry here. Those were amazing presents when I got them, from whomever they were given to me by. But now it's like, well, okay, I can enjoy those. I don't need more, right? So I shouldn't be sad like, oh, I'm not going to get, this beautiful ring or beautiful necklace or earrings or whatever, right? We can still, feel good about it. And we can still wear that jewelry, that watch that your girlfriend gave you or your wife gave you. You can still wear those things and say, wow, this represented love. This represented something fun. It was something I wanted or needed. And that was a need fulfilled by somebody who loved me at the time. Regardless of what happened later on down the road, you can still go back and access those moments of joy and love. I still have wedding pictures up, and if you all could see my room, I'm not going to pan it, but I have a whole wall that's all pictures, collages of families, of friends, of different events in my life and people that were important to me. And I probably have, I'm going to guess, about 100 pictures of different types. And like I said, in collages and stuff on this big, long hallway. Well, included there are some wedding pictures. And friends of mine said, well, are you going to take those pictures down? And I said, no. It was one of the happiest days of my life where I felt loved. And look at all the people that came, all my friends and family that traveled in from all over the place to express support and love. The fact that that marriage or that relationship only lasted as long as it did, I was only together with him for 16 years, does not change the fact that there was tremendous love and beauty and joy in that moment, right? So again, right, think about the choices we have. I can look at those pictures and go, oh, he's not here anymore. I don't have that love in my life anymore, right? I could be like throwing myself the biggest pity party on the planet. And instead, I'm going to choose to look at it of, I had this love in my life with him. That may have changed, but you know, see all these other people in those pictures? I still have relationships with them. I still have that love in my life. I still have that friendship, that support, right? So again, it's really up to us on how we want to look at those situations. And if like you have somebody in your life and maybe you haven't expressed love to them, maybe you're that secret Valentine. Well, now's a good chance to, you know, drop off the cookie, the heart cookie, or drop off a flower, a single rose. And you could do it anonymously or with a card, or you can get the goofy little fun Kit Kat Valentines and the little boxes of candy, right? Those sweet tarts with the cute little like be mine and all that kind of stuff on them, right? I think they still make those. And you could drop them off in a very lighthearted, fun way. Right. And whether it's a colleague or a friend or somebody you play games or sports with, whatever, right? It can be something that can be very lighthearted and fun. And if you are feeling you've had this secret passion for somebody for a long time, definitely share. And certainly if you are in a committed relationship with somebody, go out of your way and do something nice that you know they would love and appreciate. You know, and it might be, you know, you cook them their favorite meal, you give them a great foot massage. You know, it doesn't have to be something that costs a lot of money. You know, if you have some money and you want to buy them a present that you know they're going to like and love and use, cool, right? But I'm sorry, I just saw one of the chat things that popped up about a cat and toilet paper and being addicted to toilet paper. I have no idea what that train's about, but that was quite the interrupt. But love on your kitties, right? Love on your dogs, love on your pets. Right? So love is never wasted. Love is always a good choice, and expressing love is always a highest choice that you can do. Right? Anything you want to share in that Mr. Grizzly there, since you have a wonderful love in your life?
I do have a wonderful love in my life, and I don't know what I'd do without her.
There you go, right? So Valentine's for you is going to be a day of expressing that gratitude in whatever way she wants, and you're a better man for it.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. All right, guys. So some other thoughts I was thinking about this week. We kind of left off last week with an assignment, right? Now, how many of y'all did the homework? They're all like, homework. Oh, shoot. What the heck did she ask us to do? I asked you to think about spirituality and what that means to you. And so what I wanted to do, I actually, in my book, I wrote quite a bit about spirituality and my thoughts on spirituality, and how it's one of the few sections that was not channeled. It's actually my thoughts, and I claim them as my thoughts versus channeled stuff. And it's towards the back of the book. But I thought it was important because we throw around certain buzzwords these days, and spirituality is one of them. Right. So I think it's important that we think a little bit about, well, what exactly is spirituality? Right. So I will tell you part of the reason there's as many definitions of the word as there are people practically is because it's a nominalization. Spirituality is one of those words that it can mean different things to different people. Right. So it has as many definitions as people who want to try to define it. So I noticed for myself that spirituality has really evolved over time. So when I was young, as most people, I took on the definition of spirituality that was the one that was expressed in my home and in the home life. And it was very much based on the religious principles that worked on that. So it was kind of like, okay, as long as you did unto others, like the good book said, you are a spiritual person. If you went to church every Sunday, you were a spiritual person. So I took my definition of spirituality based on what I was taught, what was modeled in my home, and what I was told it was, right? It was very synonymous with those two things. So then later on, as I started discovering metaphysics and healing and psychic phenomenon and understanding or perceiving more from spirit, I was like, okay, what do I think spirituality is based with that context versus the home context of the religion? So one of the big themes that became very apparent to me early on in my metaphysical studies was that of oneness. And so then spirituality kind of morphed into, okay, if whatever I'm doing is in service of oneness and recognizing and seeing the oneness in others, then that was spirituality. And so with that then gave me sort of my own personal code of how do I live my life. It was more of a personal rule set than a strict, okay, the good book says this, this, and this, don't do that, thou shalt do that, don't do that, and if you check off all the right boxes, you're spiritual, you're a good person. It really changed, and it added in a layer of personal accountability and responsibility for the consequences of the actions and inactions, the things I said as well as the things that I didn't say, and having a direct recognition of the consequences and the effect that I was having on others, and based my spirituality and the definition of spirituality more on that. It became, how was I impacting others? And if I was having a positive impact, then that would help me feel more spiritual because I'm a good person. The more service I could offer to others, right? The better I was, the more spiritual I was, the more people whose lives I touched, the better off I was, right? So that personal definition felt right to me for a really long period of time. And then I started thinking about revelation and personal revelation and spiritual revelation and becoming the best possible version of self that I could. I started learning and studying about the hero's journey. And we've talked about that before, and about, when we're on this journey, how we comport ourselves and how we conduct ourselves as we're going through our journey at the different phases, that can define our spirituality and what's important to us. And I would ask myself questions like, how am I when I'm at my best? How do I want to be? How was I, or what was I doing when I experienced those transcendent moments when I felt like I touched something greater than self? It wasn't just I went to a yoga class or I meditated there, or I was in this beautiful temple or this beautiful place in nature. But there are moments in our lives, and I hope that you've all felt them as well, and I know, Grizz, you have, where you're part of something greater than yourself, that there's something out there that is so much more than just our physical bodies, right? So that came on to, what's our intent? What's our purpose? And how does that all fit into the spirituality question, right? So it's so much more than just something that was codified. So what happened then for me is that spirituality became more interdependent, right? So it started off, I'm dependent on what the good book says, right? Here's the rule set. That's how I was raised. Then the pendulum swung to metaphysics, and it was a personal code. Okay, as long as this makes sense to me and, it feels right. Okay, that's my truth. Okay, that's my spirituality. Then it kind of came back to something a little bit more center, that interdependent, that said, how am I impacting the world around me? What is my intention? What is my integrity level? How am I doing things so that I feel like I am doing the best I can and having the most positive impact possible? Am I embracing positive attributes of integrity and loyalty and trustworthiness and dependability and the things that are honorable and good in the world? And that interconnection, what it meant to be spiritual in relation to both myself and how I interact with spirit, as well as the impact I'm having with others. And in that way, spirituality became more transpersonal. So instead of being a measure of some kind of special awareness that people have, it became more of kind of the lighthouse beacon of how I wanted to live my life. So I'd kind of check in and be like, okay, what does it mean to be a spiritual person? And I would ask myself that question. Or if I saw somebody and I thought, wow, that person really exudes spirituality, what were some of the characteristics that I saw in that person? Well, usually they were calm and filled with peace. They were enthusiastic and optimistic and encouraging of others. They were kind and went out of their way to be of help to others. All right. And not just people, others, kind to animals, kind to nature. They had this awareness that I move through life and I impact others by my energy, by my thoughts, by my intentions. So I am dedicating my life to make sure that any impact I have is a positive one. And they demonstrate it through how they live their lives and how they interact with others. And so I was like, okay, that's pretty cool, right? Then I tell the story in the book. So I was at that point of revelation of, okay, I think that's what spiritual is and what it means. And a friend asked me to come over, and watch a movie. And it was The Memoirs of a Geisha. And it was a beautiful movie, and it's set in Japan. And in the movie, there's a dialogue towards the end, and 2 lines that I quoted. And it said, "We do not become geisha to pursue our own desires. We become geisha because we have no other choice. It's who we are at our core." Right. And I thought, oh man, that just hit me. It was like, wow. So for us to be the best version of ourselves possible, it's really just, it's not like, oh, I have to choose, this is my destiny. I have to pursue this. No, we just have to strip away all the stuff that's not us, because at our core, we are these amazing beings, these light beings that chose to come into body, to bring all our spiritual gifts and skills, to pursue the purpose that our soul wanted to come into. So it added another level of dimension to what spirituality is, because now it wasn't just the sense of purpose and destiny of our souls going through some kind of preordained mission or path. It was, we had the opportunity to express more fully who we are without any need to be more or less than that. There was no judgment. It was just unconditional acceptance of, this is the gift I am, I bring to the world. It's not what I do, it's who I am, because it is so much a part of my being. And that's what I would encourage for everyone to do, right? Realize that the choices we have are in how we express it, but the beingness of who we are, if we're true to ourselves and we open up to that longing that's deepest in our soul, and open up to the possibilities that are available to us when we have that desire to be kind and to have a positive impact on others and to be unconditionally forgiving and loving, the universe responds. And then that oneness, that becomes the spirituality. That becomes a code to live by. So instead of just saying, okay, well, here's my code of the, 10 commandments and okay, check, check, check. Good. I'm a spiritual person. I live that life. Or I went to church every Sunday and I tithed my tithing, or, check, 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 done the boxes. Those check marks are an external expression of some of the guidelines that you may have followed. But what is so much more essential in you expressing your spirituality is making sure that you are being true to the core of you, and you are resonating an energy field and a consistent. See, just like that lighthouse beacon, that you are constant and reliable and dependable. And the people around you know that this is who you are. You are this gift. You are this person that has a certain purpose. And that purpose is to uplift and to heal and to help and to be of service to others and to become the best possible version of yourself. You got to do that first. Because if you're still kind of stuck in the quicksand, and we've talked about this before, you're going to be very limited on who you can help. So it is a noble pursuit. It is spirituality. It is spiritual for you. It is spiritually righteous for you to do whatever it takes to become the best possible version of yourself. Because there's no way you can ever fulfill a destiny. You can create a legacy, or you can have the impact and that positive impact on others that your soul longs for you to do. There's no way you can express the creativity and bring into being the artwork, the music, the writings, the inventions, the relationships, the positive, beautiful things that your soul wants you to express. You can't do that if you're stuck in the quicksand. So understand that it's okay to make a priority in cleaning up your life and doing the things that you need to, so you can open up to the fullness of who you are and express that and be all you can be. Okay. So a couple other, does that make sense? Grace, make sense? Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
So also because of that, I want to kind of circle back around to a lot of people who still hold on to the religion equals spirituality. And we have to be really careful not to judge other people, because we have evolved our sense of what spirituality means. And they're still back with, okay, as long as I check, check, check off the 10 commandments and I go to church every Sunday and tithe, I'm good, right? We don't judge, right? At least they're doing something that is striving to better themselves. And for their world, that's their spirituality for now. They may never have an interaction with another being from another dimension. They may never have that awareness or awakening that makes them question, is there more to life than this? They may not have that transcendental moment where they touch oneness and know that there is something they are a part of that is so much grander than they are. They are part of something that's they almost can't even explain, but they just know that they're a part of it and they feel that in their heart and soul. How many people don't even have a sense of what their purpose is, right? A lot of people. You don't judge them for that. You help them find it, right? You just keep shining your light. You keep being the best you can be, the most positive force you can be. You get yourselves out of the quicksand and shining your light and being of service to others and touching light. And you know what? By your example of who you are, just like the examples of the spiritual people that you look around, you're like, wow, she's got amazing energy, or he's got this glow about him, or wow, he just has this sense of peace and calmness that I want. These people, and when you see them and you feel that energy, you're inspired. Well, make it your goal to be as much of that you can for the people around you. Right? We talked about this a long time ago. Even if you know this much more than your neighbor, you can teach your neighbor that, right? You don't have to wait until you have a degree and certifications and, years and years and years and years of practice. You can help others just because you have that intention to do so, and you can share what you know, and coming from that place of authenticity. So another buzzword or phrase that's out there I want to talk about is that authentic self. What does that mean? People bandy that term around all the time. Oh, I'm just being my authentic self. Be careful not to use that term as an excuse for being an asshole, because then you're just an authentic asshole, and you don't want to do that, right? Because some people are like, well, this is me and this is my truth. And it's like, well, if your truth is making you act like a jerk and hurting other people, that's not probably a good thing. And honestly, I don't believe that there's any person that's at their core is a jerk. I think they may have had life situations that have happened to them that have created some jerk-like tendencies in them. But I think at the very core, I truly believe that we have goodness in the core of everyone, and it can be a function of how you were raised and genetics and what you were exposed to and what you've had to deal with in your life that may have broken down and had you dissociate away from some of the goodness. You just kind of gave in to that party that's like, screw it, it's too hard. Let me just go in this camp instead. But I honestly believe that when people in the right context say, what is your authentic self? I truly believe that that is based on what is the purpose of your soul. How are you being authentic to the creativity that you are meant to express, to the experiences your soul wanted you to have, to the relationships that you were building? So that authentic self is putting yourself first to get out of the quicksand so that you can help other people out of the quicksand. Being the best, strongest possible version of yourself, the healthiest, most financial, best educated, filled with the most life experiences, so that you can become more of that beacon, so that you can become somebody that can help inspire and lead others and help others, right? That's an authentic person. And that kind of leads to legacy of what's the impact. If you are living that life and trying to be true to yourself and true to what your soul wants you to express, and knowing that there's that oneness and wholeness, that legacy is the impact you have on others. It's not necessarily stuff, right? And sometimes we don't know what people are going to treasure. We don't know necessarily when we're going to have that life-changing moment that transforms somebody and helps them become aware of the greatness that is around them, what is possible, that says, hey, there's something more than this box I live in and this pattern of my life where I get up, I go to work, I run some errands, I do some chores, I rinse, repeat, and do the same 365 days out of the year. There's so much more to that. So one of the things that brought that message home for me, I told you before, I'm working on some decluttering and trying to, get myself as the best possible version of myself. And what does that include? That means getting rid of the distractions so I can really stay focused on what's important. And what's important to me right now is having my finger on the pulse of what's needed out there right now. And we need hope. We need kindness. We need love. We need light. We need spiritual gifts to add some fun and curiosity and joyfulness into life, as well as to get some direction and help understand what is our intuition, and that combination of the mind and our intellect merging with our heart and our heartfelt emotions and our gut and that knowing that we have, and operating more and more of our life from this place of power and empowerment, being true to who you are and knowing that you're becoming better and better. You're just on your way there, right? And looking at each step each day saying, okay, am I getting closer to these goals? Am I doing and becoming things to help me be more in alignment with that version of myself that I want for me and for my family and for my friends and for my colleagues and for all the people whose lives I'm going to touch? So one of the things I was doing, I was decluttering. I was going through some old jewelry, and I came across something that was my grandmother's. And I thought, oh, this was one of her treasures. And she handed it down to my mom, and it was one of my mom's treasures because it was her mom's, and it became one of my treasures. And I was like, okay, I have this beautiful piece of amber necklace. And I said, And it has a great story. I think I mentioned it. You know, she had smuggled some of the amber when she came across, came to this country years ago on a steamship, and she came across from Poland, and she had smuggled in some amber so that she would have it in case they needed to sell it to make some money to live on until they could, you know, get work and figure things out. So she brought it over and she hid it away because she wasn't sure if people would take it in customs or if they were allowed to. But there was a nice story behind it. Well, I always enjoyed the story, and I loved this necklace because it was my mother's and my grandmother's. Well, I don't have a daughter. I don't have kids. I don't have somebody that I can leave that to. And so this treasure of my grandmother's that represented her security and this adventure that she came cross country, and this wonderful treasure of my mother's because it belonged to her mom, and her mom died fairly early. And so it was something that, you know, kept them close. And then when my mom gave it to me, it was my treasure. But to anybody else who's not in that family, and it stops with me, guys, it ends, that treasure's not a treasure. It's just a hunk of amber, you know, and it might have some commercial value, but it's not a treasure. And so it really made me think about, what are the things we treasure, right? There might be some objects that have some real significance to us, but maybe some of the things we should be treasuring are the moments that we're spending with those loved ones, right? Taking the time to create the memories that will always be with us. And yeah, you know, those treasures, they may die with us unless we tell our stories, right? And whether that's tell it through books or songs or art, or verbally sharing it with the friends and families, you know, and making sure that those endure, you know, those are treasures too. So, you know, what are we selling our soul for, right? You know, what are we stressing about? And I think we see it with some of the disasters that have happened of late. And you'll hear it over and over again, whether it was a fire in California or a flood in North Carolina or a tornado in the South. When people have lost all of their possessions, what they treasure, typically it's, oh my God, the wedding album photo, or, you know, the medal, you know, the Medal of Honor that my grandpa had, you know, that was in that case, or the flag, you know, that was on my veteran dad's, you know, casket that was given to us and folded, right? They're not necessarily the high dollar value things, right? They're the sentimental things that link us energetically to the people. And for the rest of it, how many times have you heard when the people are being interviewed? It's like, that's just stuff. Stuff can be replaced. You know, I'm just so glad, you know, I have the love of my life still with me, or my loved one, or my pet, or whoever survived it, right? That was what was important. And it shouldn't take disasters to make us kind of step back a little bit and think about, okay, what's really important to me? What do I treasure? Our actions and where we spend our time and money tell us and other people, what do we treasure? What's important to us, right? So pay attention to that. If you're not really sure, like, geez, you know, what do I treasure? Look where you're spending your time. Look how you're spending your money, right? Those will be some clues. And if you like those things and you're like, yeah, that's in alignment with the vision of the person I'm becoming, and it's in alignment with my purpose-driven life of the soul mission that I have, and the energy I'm trying to create and bring through, and the creativity I'm trying to express. If it's doing all those things, great. If it's not, if in hindsight, it's kind of like, okay, yep, I treasured this stamp collection because I spent years putting it together. Okay, that's cool. That's nice. It's a cool novelty. And maybe your grandson or your nephew or some neighborhood kid would love to have it someday. And that can become something that's part of your legacy. But I bet you that kid will only enjoy it if you take the time to teach them and share your love of that with them. That guitar that was your father's might be a treasure to you because he taught you how to play on that guitar. And he's no longer with us. And you're like, yeah, that's why it's a treasure, because it is a symbol of that connection and that energy. If something happened to that guitar, you still have that connection, those memories, and that energy. So really, reflect when you have a chance on what's important. Now, I did pick some cards. Sorry, I want to swing back to you, Grizz. So what do you think on that, Grizz? About what treasures and what's important?
Yeah, it depends on you and what you define as a treasure and what you hold nearest and dearest to your heart, not what is others. One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Amen to that, right? You see that at tag sales all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see somebody that's like, "Oh my God, look what I found! How much is it?" And they're like, $1, $1. Oh my God, they're over the moon because they just found this thing, and you're like, "I was like, I don't care. I was getting rid of the bloody thing because I don't care about it." But you're right, and there's no judgment, right? It's what makes you happy, what brings you joy. But the only reason to really step back and look at what are the treasures in your life is ask yourself, why is this a treasure? Because it might be the underlying connection, the relationship, the times and memories that you spent together. So instead of getting more of that kind of thing as a treasure and collecting more of those things, it might be create more of those moments with the people you love and want to be with that made that thing a treasure to start with. That baseball that you caught at that World Series game that is in the box and it got signed and it's this wonderful treasure that you have. And you're like, oh my God, I have that baseball. Well, you don't need 100 more baseballs. It's a treasure because of that experience that you had with the people you went there to the game and that memory. And oh my God, you're the one who caught it. And then, oh my God, he signed it. And it's all that experience. It's those interactions that made it a treasure. It's just a baseball. But it's not, because it's linked to all that other stuff. And we should never belittle somebody's treasure. You don't know what it is. I mean, somebody could be homeless and their treasure is their shopping cart that they're pushing around. And how dare you disrespect them, by touching it without permission, right? And you're like, well, okay, to you, it may not be anything of value, but to them, their whole life is contained in that basket if they happen to be in that. And I've come across some homeless people in my travels, and they deserve the same respect and dignity and compassion and love and lack of judgment. People wind up in places for all kinds of reasons. And some of the highest souls that have ever been on the planet and incarnated here have found themselves in places that you'd be like, whoa, this is crazy. But why? Because they wanted to experience the depths so they could then help bring others to the heights. And so you don't know that. What's the old expression from the Bible? You may entertain angels unawares, right? You never know when somebody is choosing a situation for a learning, and obviously we offer help and extend help. But if somebody's like, you know what? I love living out here in nature. It would drive me crazy to be confined to four walls. Okay. Maybe that's their freedom. And for them, that's where their soul is leading them in this kind of thing. So yes, Chris, it does look like a bit of a monk there. Love it. I love the background.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Welcome, Amy.
Yeah. All right. So what I'd like to do now is go through the messages that I got from Spirit for today. I picked some cards before we started. And the first one was flexibility. So it says, life is full of changes and surprises. Your guidance is to move with the current, for it is resisting the flow, which often creates the problems. Open your mind and heart to new ideas and fresh options, right? So yeah, it's really important. We can put our mind and our energy out to manifest what we want, right? Where the thoughts go, energy flows. So we can be really good about putting the what out there. But where we need to be flexible and allow spirit and others to help us is in the how and in the timing of when it comes and how it shows up, right? So if we try to force all the aspects, well, I want this and I want it this way and I want it now, that's not being very flexible. But if you're flexible to say, I want this opportunity to be on a podcast, right? And I don't care where it comes from. If you have a show that's going on somewhere, or a host somewhere, you give them my name and number and tell them Alethea wants to be a guest on their show. I just want to get out there. I want to do 10 shows a week. and just be a guest and answer whatever question people have, right? So if that was I'm putting that out there, that's the what, that's what I want. I can't then try to control how soon does that manifest, because that could take a time to plant seeds and network and kind of get out there. But also the how might be very surprising. I might make the connection with one person, or Grizz makes a connection with somebody that, he all of a sudden has this whole new network, and he's like, oh, I got all these people here. She wants to make the rounds. So with one person, I can have it fulfilled. I don't have to get 10 other people to help me get 10 other shows, right? So you never know. You want to just be open to see, be clear on what you want, put that manifestation desire out there, put the energy out there, but then be open to allow it to come in whatever direction. Don't say, oh, I don't want it to come from that person. No, don't block it. Don't stop it. You just said, hey, bring it on. So be curious, be open, allow it, and be flexible to see how it's going to manifest in your life, and be surprised and delighted and be like, well, dang, I never would have thought of that. And there it is, right? Just be open, and it'll help you manifest the things you want a lot quicker than if you try to control it. Because if you try to control it, then you're limited to just how you can think and the vision of how you think it might happen. And it totally shuts the doors or windows to all the myriad of other options and opportunities in ways that it actually could happen, right? You tell him, puppy. All right, the next one was fresh air. And so this is a reminder, especially in the wintertime, a lot of us don't get a lot of fresh air, right? Other than shoveling the snow or snow blowing it, or running from our car to the store or a car to the place of business. A lot of us don't get the fresh air we need. Some people are skiers or snowboarders, or, they're out there in it. But it's really important for our body and for our health and for our energy field to be in the sun, to be in the fresh air, to let the wind clean our aura and our ionic field. So make it a point as much as you can to get out to get some fresh air, especially during the winter, because it really does help you. The next card I chose was transformation. And this is about restructuring and making positive changes and awakening and becoming stronger emotionally, becoming more loving in your core and more comfortable in your interactions with others, right? The more that you embrace that, your definition of spirituality, and you live your life in alignment with those ethics and morals and that truth of your soul, expressing the creativity and the joyfulness, and if you're going to have a checklist, have that checklist of kindness, positive impact, shining my light, sharing my gifts, doing good whenever I can, doing the right thing always. All right. As you have that as your checklist, you will find yourself shifting and changing and morphing much more quickly into the potential of the being that you want to become that you just aren't yet, right? We're all on this journey of becoming the best possible versions of ourselves that we can, and having the experiences and building the relationships and having those interactions and sharing those moments that become the treasures that make our life worth something, so that we can leave that legacy of positive impact in whatever form it takes. So the 3 tarot cards I chose for today, the past was the Page of Rods, saying in the past, our intuition, we listened to it sometimes not, it was immature, right? We were like, just like our spirituality could be like, okay, check, yep, got those 10 commandments. Yep. Went to church on Sunday. I'm a spiritual person. That was an older model. We've updated, right? We need spirituality 2.0 or 20.0. All right. The card for right now is it's the 5 of Cups reversed. And so it's about embracing the blessings we have. Doesn't matter if we've had losses. Doesn't matter if we've had challenges. In fact, the more hell we've gone through, the more we should enjoy and embrace and be thankful for the heaven that's left, right? For the blessings that are in our life, for the good things that are in our life. What we focus on grows. If we focus on what we lose or have lost, we just get deeper in the quicksand. But if we focus on the blessings we have still, the things that are still working in our life, the things that we can be grateful for, guess what? More of those start to show up. and become bigger and better. And in our future, the High Priestess card, it says, look, when we become truly in touch with the core of who we are, our intuition, in our soul's desires, and we express that creativity, we express that love, we dedicate and devote time each day to kindness, positive impact, developing our gifts, becoming the best version of ourselves possible, and being of service to others, we then create this magical sphere around us where manifestations of the most amazing things can happen, those coincidences, those flows. Life becomes this effortless dance where it's like, wow, you meet up with just the right person at just the right time in order for you to help them or them to help you, or for the both of you to help others. And you kind of look at like, wow, that was really cool. Wow, you couldn't have even orchestrated it or planned it, because it just unfolds in this way that you're like, dang, you guys are good, but you have to be willing to allow, you have to listen to that intuition. And again, intuition isn't that airy fairy stuff. It is a very congruent combination of the energy of your intellect, your love and passion, and your knowing, right? The head, the heart, the gut, working in synchrony in order to be the most powerful force for good you can be in the world, and to manifest the things that you need to have that be your truth. So that's what the High Priestess represents, and that flow. So I think I always get a tickle of how the cards kind of tune in, because I don't look at them until after I've talked a little bit. And I'm like, wow, that kind of tied into it. A lot of the messages that we were making today. So, all right. Question?
No, not at all.
Okay, no, I wasn't sure. Mary's welcome to add something if she wants. So absolutely, she's a wise woman too there. So she wants to say something, she sure can pop on if she'd like to. She's always welcome. All right. Did you notice any questions or comments that came up in the chat?
Yes, I have one for you. Lisa wants to know, can you tell me why I'm seeing 111 and 4 ones daily on the clock without trying? I see these numbers for 2 or 3 years now, and thank you. Yep.
Absolutely. So 1111 is a mystical number, right? 11 has from numerological points of view, it is a number of transformation, of mastery, of new beginnings. And so whenever I see 1111, it's kind of that wink from spirit. It's that God wink of, hey, you're on the right track. Hey, you're doing the right thing there. How about you, Grizz? Do you interpret that similarly? He's laughing. But that's kind of how I see that. Whenever it's kind of that extra nod from spirit of, hey, you're paying attention. So usually what I do when I see that, first I get that little, I feel like it's a thumbs up from spirit of, hey, you're on the right track. But then I also take a moment to ask, and is there anything else I need to know in this moment, and see what pops into my head, right? So it's kind of like spirit kind of did the flag to you of 1111. Hey, are you noticing? Hey, are you paying attention? Hey, I have your attention now. Cool. Thumbs up. And there might be another message too. So you may as well piggyback on that. When you see that 1111, say, okay, spirit's got my attention. What else you got for me? So besides the thumbs up that you're on the right track, what else do you want to hear? And so you can open up and use that as an opportunity to hear or perceive even more. And again, whatever pops into your mind. So don't try to steer it or judge it. Just kind of open and allow and ask the question, because it is a spiritual truth. If you ask a question, you will get an answer. You may not necessarily like it or understand it, but you will always get one, right? So may as well use that to your advantage when you're in that moment of connection with spirit, when that 1111 happens. Grizz, I saw you laughing when we were talking about 1111. Have you had some fun 1111 moments there?
Oh, yeah. I was looking at Mary. Yeah, well, I get those numbers all the time.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Me too. And I truly believe it's part of, spirit's way of, like I said, giving us that wink or just reminding us, hey, we're here, especially if you haven't called on them lately or, sat down to have that conversation or to allow yourself to be that channel for whether it's creativity or creative projects, or just being open to see what comes through, whether it's music or art or writing or projects or solutions, right? How many of us are problem solving all the time? How to have a better relationship, how to build our business, how to market ourselves, how to get out of the quicksand of the financial hole we're in, how to, right? We have all these questions. Well, why not, when you're in those moments of connection with spirit, and those 11:11 moments, not only say thanks, reminding me you're here, take a moment to pause and see how they might help you get even more insight into whatever it is that you're noodling and pondering and thinking about or needing some help with, right? Because they love to do that. They're around us all the time. And, I'm as guilty as the next person. And even though I do this a lot for my living, I'm just as guilty of forgetting sometimes to sit down. Life takes over. The dog needs to go out. The meal needs to be cooked. The shopping has to happen. The checkbook has to be balanced and bills have to be paid, right? And you kind of get into that, I'm getting this work done mode. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. Let me sit down and, let's just kind of get back into the flow, right? Because, that worldly stuff, yeah, it's important. I got to do it. But what's the really important stuff? It's what's my spirituality and what's my energy like? And am I being kind? And am I making the good impacts? Am I getting myself out of the quicksand? Am I helping other people out of the quicksand? Am I truly in touch with what my soul wants me to be doing right now? Do I even know what that is? That's a noble pursuit. Anybody who's listening out there, if you don't have a clue what you want or what your soul wants or what your purpose is or what your legacy should be, it is a noble pursuit to take the time and effort to figure that out. Because at the end of the day, once you know what that is, your life has that sense of purpose. You have peace in your life. You have contentment. You have joy, because you're doing what you're not supposed to be doing from a rule set. No, of what your soul wants for you, what the potential is, the best possible version of you is. And it is so worth taking the time to figure that out and making the shifts, even if it's just one day at a time, one step at a time, one little action or thought at a time, and starting to move in that direction. It is a noble quest. It is a noble pursuit. It is worth your time, your money, your energy, your effort to figure that out. Because then at the end of your life, you're not going to be filled with all the regrets of the woulda, coulda, shouldas. You will sit there with this sense of, wow, this was an adventure. I did what I wanted from a soul level. I made a difference. I touched people's lives. I wonder what the next adventure is going to hold for me on the other side of the veil, right? So that it takes away a lot of the fear and a lot of the doubt. And it makes you just feel good about who you are. Because, so many of us go through life not liking ourselves, criticizing ourselves, judging ourselves, hating our life, hating all kinds of things, right? It's like, stop. That's the opposite of what we want. We want to get out of that quicksand, whether it's mental, emotional, or spiritual, physical. Get out and get to that point where you are able to find your light, shine your light, refine your light, grow your light, add to your tool, add to your spiritual gifts. Get clearer about what brings you joy, is serving your soul, is serving your purpose, and serving others. And I tell you, you will have a peace and a joy in your life that you will not even believe is possible when you know you're on that track, when you find it. It is so true that when you are living that kind of life, work doesn't feel like work. It's just the stuff, it feels so purposeful. You go to bed exhausted, but it's a good tired, not a, oh my God, tired. What happened here? It's a life well lived, right? Is one that you can look back at and say, you know what? I did the best I could. I made the best choices I could. I became the best possible me that I could, with all the rest of the challenges and obstacles or things that might have gotten in the way or distractions that were there. I still did the best job I could. And because I stayed focused and kept my eye on the prize, I feel good about myself and the life I've lived. And like I said, I'm ready for whatever the next adventure is. You will never regret it, my friends, if you do that. I absolutely tell you that, because I've talked to so many people on both sides of the veil. Right. And the things they regret are not the things they did out of love and service to others, or or service to themselves. What they regretted was all those moments they got stuck in the mire of the distraction. Really important to them. All right, guys. Again, what spirituality really means, but how you can live that spirituality, how you can have that kindness and be that force for good in the world and have more joy in your own life as you realize you're making a difference. Okay. Hope you all come back next Thursday. Any show to talk about before then, Grizz, you want to promote or tell about?
We got a show at 10 o'clock. The Giant of Kandahar. Did it actually happen in Afghanistan? Was it real? Part 2. Tune into that with Justin Decker at 10 p.m. Eastern. And from coast to coast, around the world, everybody, Godspeed. We'll see you on the next show. Bye-bye.
Love y'all. Thank you. Bye-bye.